In the Hearts and Minds, Book 0, The Birth of a Hero. Story 22. Times were stop. Iago felt the burst of a giant pimple or a boil, something liquid, something waiting to get out, and between his fingers a dark cherry fog leaked from his collar. Pinata's powers rubbed off on him when they made love. He could see the bluesies when she was around. But Iago felt that this bud that Burrow had incubated for years had taken most of it, most of her love for him. Vardy Hamilton was obviously unimpressed. Despite the fireworks, the farmers keeping their own against a trained military, and all the carnage around them, she was unimpressed by everything. She toed a boot into the charred soil. "I told you, that won't work on me." "Maybe not," Iago said, just as the fog's edge reached the first forgotten weapon tossed to the ground. It had plastic on it, yes, but there was metal, too. As soon as the fog reached the gun, it reacted like a swarm of bees. Within seconds, the metal was gone, dissolved. Metal could also be found in people. Private Hamilton's eyes became moons, but still she didn't move. Truvian soldiers quickly got caught in his fog, which only grew more vengeful the longer it lingered in the air. This fog had gotten a taste for metal. Iago didn't know if it would ever stop now that it had started consuming what it wanted. "Your government fucked with life," Iago said, holding his arms out on either side. He felt like smiling. God, did he feel like smiling? Was he smiling? "And this is what you got. You're not the only monster around. You never fucking were." She scoffed, flipping her hair. "You can't beat me, brat. Not with this." "Are you sure?" Iago could see metal on her. He nodded to it. "Can you move without that leg?" "It'll never reach me," Vardy Hamilton replied. Case in point, the fog hovered in the air when it approached her space, just like that grenade. Truvian soldiers fled in the hopes of outrunning the mist, but it was hopeless. It hunted, just as the soldiers hunted. It preyed upon metal, just as Truvia preyed upon its citizens. "It doesn't feel very nice, does it?" Iago wanted to shout. "Cute game," Private Vardy remarked, uncaring that her fellow soldiers were being eaten alive. Everyone had metal in them, no matter how small. Iago felt his eyes crinkle at their corners. "You think this is a game? Your husband would be sad to hear it. He speaks so highly of you." An interesting tremble wove through her unimpressed demeanor, but after a twitch, it abated. Iago continued. "He's always blamed himself, you know, for dying, for cutting through and scaring the wits out of you. Maybe then, he said, you wouldn't have turned into this." The inhumanity was back, juddering responses like she was a machine in a Truvian factory. Well, that's what frosted training was all for, wasn't it? Iago was the only one who hadn't had it rewritten into his muscle receptors. "Even now, there's nothing he can do to help you." Iago could no longer see the bluesies with Pinata so far away, but he knew that ghost must be lingering nearby. Hopefully, Iago would have the chance to apologize to him someday. "What a useless husband. No wonder you changed so much. You've been wronged by the one person who was supposed to keep you safe." "Don't." The machine quivered in its restraints. "Don't you ever." Iago scratched at his cheek. "Oh, that was insensitive of me. But I'm only stating facts. with your emotions stopped and all. I thought we could communicate better like this. Did I go too far? You piece of... What's that? Iago interrupted, tilting an ear her way. I couldn't quite hear you over all this noise. You... what? He called louder. Vardy Hamilton held her hands before her, and they trembled like records on a player. There was almost something rhythmic to it. It's funny, Iago called. You and your fellow dogs sure like hurting people. Maybe it helps curb the rage and injustice you've suffered, or maybe you were all crazy to begin with. Somehow, after killing all those Fromaggians and all those terrorists, and all the other people who raised dissent, I thought you'd all have thicker skin. Can't take even a smidge of what you dish out, huh? Finally, she exploded. As the other soldiers ran away, Private Hamilton screeched, Enough! But it wasn't enough. Nothing would ever be enough. Arlie popped up on an abandoned, half-dissolved chug. In their hands was a weapon made of hemp and wood, a one-time explosive device. Up here, bitch! Private Vardy dodged instinctively, throwing a trembling hand up to stop the explosion as it came. Now, 3 of them rotated around her like moons, but the distraction was all that was needed. Iago ducked in close, taking her by surprise. With his leafy shield, he swung at the back of her head. She took the hit like a felled deer, getting all tangled up in her legs as she plummeted. Glaring up at him, she moved. Sweeping out a metallic leg, Iago tried jumping, but she caught his outer foot midair. He landed wrong on one knee, but he punched down anyway. The punch stopped partway, though it trembled in the air. Could he break through her barrier with the power of his will? Had anybody ever tried to outwill this monster before? With a roar, he concentrated on breaking through this silent space, this wall she'd effectively built between herself and the rest of the world. Vardy Hamilton wheezed, and then Arlie was there. The ex-assassin twirled lower than low, sidestepping wider than Iago thought possible, and exploded tiny fuses again. Private Vardy put all of her concentration into stopping each one, but soon she was surrounded. She accidentally brushed against one, and instead of remaining still, it exploded every which way. It didn't use the fire of the fuse. That fizzled out like a dampened coil. No, it just spun in wild, chaotic ricochets. Everybody nearby hit the ground. Iago had Rowley, who had grown to the size of his arm. He shielded Arlie's head, faintly noticing the blood caking half of their hairline and the singed ends of their hair. How had Iago known about the speedsters and Arlie's relationship? It was something in the crown of their heads, their matching widow's peaks, the twist of their frowns. The speedster had never tried to hurt Iago. How had he not been caught by the chugs or fighter jets after the raid? None of it had added up. Who had sent him the missive to begin with? Someone who knew how to braid hemp like Arlie. Who could it be, other than Arlie themselves? Iago had figured it out when the speedster came to this battle and didn't kill him a second time. Deceit and deception were everywhere. There were traitors within the ranks of flavors around the world. There always had been. Eventually, those traitors made their move, destroying the entire organization overnight. There just weren't any foolproof safeguards against treachery when your entire business was treason. Iago and Arlie had worked these last years on an organizational structure that could last, that could keep Pinata safe. The only person Iago trusted more than himself was Arlie. That speedster was an extension of them. Iago had no more room for hesitation. He had no more free chances left to make the wrong decisions. From here on out, he was to be the one who would end it all. No, it wasn't his destiny. And no, he wasn't the right man for the job. He would do it nonetheless.